Hello everyone. Welcome to First Online University, a global platform for all your education and growth related needs. In this lecture, we are going to continue with the chapter Chemistry in Everyday Life, and we've already discussed about drugs and the receptors which are there in drug targets and the mechanism of drug action. Now we are going to move on to chemicals which are present in medicines, and we'll particularly be discussing a class of uh, medicines which is known as antihistamines. Okay, so before we begin, a piece of information for you. You can use the coupon codes mission JEE or mission NEET while you enroll at First Online University for mission JEE or NEET in order to avail good discounts. Let us now begin with chemicals in medicines. That's going to be our first topic of discussion in this lecture. Now, when we talk about chemicals that are present in everyday life, that are present around us, that would include chemicals in medicines, chemicals in food products, and chemicals in cleaning agents, right? So now we are going to discuss chemicals in medicines. We already discussed this flow chart where we have chemicals in these three categories. One is medicines, food products, and cleaning agents. So we're first going to take up chemicals in medicines. So here we are going to discuss about antacids and antihistamines. So let us, and also tranquilizers, analgesics, antimicrobials, and anti-fertility drugs. So these are going to be the various categories that we are going to discuss when we have this broader category of chemicals in medicines. So under that, we are going to discuss all of these classifications. Now, overproduction of acid in the stomach. So let us first start with antacids and antihistamines. So we're going to talk about antacids first, then we'll move on to antihistamines. So now what happens is antacids, as is clear from the name, anti-acid. Okay, so something that is going to undo the effect of acid is known as antacid. Now, how do we develop acidity? So what happens is when there is overproduction of acid in the stomach, that leads to irritation and pain, and that is what we call as acidity. Okay, sometimes you feel a lot of pain in your stomach and you feel like vomiting out, but you aren't able to, and you also feel a bit of irritation, right? That is all because a lot of acid has been produced inside your stomach because of maybe you have drank a lot of water after food, or maybe you have consumed a lot of spicy food, or you've consumed a lot of variety of foods that your stomach is unable to digest, or you've done overeating or anything like that. Okay, so what basically happens is this acidity needs to be controlled, right? And it can be controlled by making use of antacids, by consuming antacids. So what is an antacid? Now, since antacid is required to neutralize the acid, therefore antacid itself should be a base. So antacid is a base which neutralizes excess of acid that is secreted in the stomach during digestion of food. We know HCl is secreted in our stomach when the food needs to be digested. So that is where we have this function of acid coming into picture. So HCl is secreted in the stomach, and that is what is the cause of acidity that is caused in the stomach. For example, we have sodium so what are the examples of antacids? We have sodium bicarbonate, metal hydroxides of magnesium and aluminum. Now, antacids will control only the symptoms and not the cause. Okay, so it's just like the irritation or the pain that is being caused by overproduction of acid, that is going to be treated by antacids, but that will not treat the cause. Okay, if you feel like you can overeat and then you will take an antacid, that's not the solution every time. Okay, now when we talk about histamine, now what is histamine? Histamine is an organic nitrogen compound as is shown in the picture. This is involved in the local immune responses as well as regulating physiological functions in the gut, and it acts as a neurotransmitter. So histamine is going to stimulate the secretion of pepsin and HCl in the stomach. Pepsin is also an enzyme that is required for the digestion of food in the stomach. So all these enzymes and acid that is going to be released, that is all helping the digestion of food. Now, what is the specific function of each of these enzymes, or what is the specific function of HCl? Why do we require a particular pH, acidic pH? That is all something which is biological. Okay, so you need, in chemistry you need not go into details of these. Anyone who has pursued biology in +2 will be able to better understand these things because they have a concept at the back of their mind already. But for people who are new to all these things and they do not have biology as a subject, I'm here to solve your doubts. Okay. So what happens is pepsin is an enzyme and HCl is the acid that is released in the stomach. Both of them are released in the stomach so that the digestion of the food can take place easily. Histamine, what it will do is it is going to trigger certain inflammatory. What is inflammation? Inflammation is some part of a something like a swelling. Okay, so inflammatory responses. Okay, to certain stimuli, there is an inflammatory response that is produced. So histamine is going to trigger that inflammatory response, and as a part of an immune response to that's actually a part of an immune response to any foreign pathogens. Now, what do we mean by this? So whenever any substance or any microbe enters into our body, which through any way, okay, either through our gut or through our respiratory system, or we have a cut and the bacteria or some other microbe enters there. So any pathway by which a microbe is entering into the body, or some foreign substance which is not a part of the body. What is a foreign substance? A substance which has entered from outside the body. It is not the innate part of the body. So any foreign substance or foreign pathogen which is entering in our body will produce an aid. So our immune system will try to combat that particular pathogen or substance, and will try to prevent that pathogen from showing its any action in the body that can cause a disease. So histamines there actually are going to trigger these inflammatory responses or immune responses. So if you look at this structure, that is tegamet, which is cimetidine, that is actually having C10H16N6S formula. It is actually responsible for reducing the production of HCl in the stomach. Then you have another ranitidine, Zentek. Zentek is a very common medicine which is almost taken by, which is mostly recommended by doctors to be taken when you have got acidity in your stomach. Okay, so that is the important worldwide used antacid, which is Zantac. Now, question is, with reference to which classification has the statement ranitidine is an antacid been given? So the classification, this statement refers to the classification according to pharmacological effect of the drug. So when I say antacid, because it is acting on a particular cause, right? So that is the pharmacological effect of the drug, because any drug which is used to counteract the effect of an excess acid in the stomach will be called an antacid. Let's have a look at few MCQs based on this. Which of the following is used as an antacid? Ampicillin? No, that's not. Omeprazole, lansoprazole, or both 2 and 3? So that's both 2 and 3. Omeprazole and lansoprazole. Both of them are antacids. You can note down in the examples, apart from the 2 examples that we've already discussed. Next question, which of the chemical is not used as medicine? Analgesic, tranquilizers, artificial sweeteners obviously are not medicines. Okay, so option C is the correct answer. Third, which among the following is not used as an antacid? Sodium bicarbonate, yes. Magnesium hydroxide, yes. Aluminum hydroxide, yes. Calcium carbonate, no. So option D is the correct answer. Next we move on to, this was all about antacids. Now we move on to antihistamines. Now, histamine we've already seen is responsible for inflammatory responses in the body. So antihistamines are going to prevent the interaction between the histamine and receptor. So what happens is, this is histamine, it is going to bind to the receptor and it will produce the inflammatory response. Now, in order to prevent this inflammatory response from actually happening, antihistamines need to be provided so that the interaction between histamine and the receptor do not take place on the stomach wall, and hence decrease in the secretion of acid becomes possible. So histamine is actually released. So when histamine is released and it interacts with the receptor, then acid is released, which is an inflammatory response. In order to prevent the or decrease the production of acid, antihistamines need to be provided. So antacid was actually neutralizing the excess of acid, but antihistamine is working towards the cause itself. It is actually decreasing the acid production itself. Okay, so I hope you understand the difference between antacids and antihistamines. So mast cell release histamines when the allergen in is encountered. So what happens is, what will happen, that antihistamine is going to bind to the receptors and block the sites where histamine is going to bind. So the interaction between histamine and the receptor is actually prevented. As a result, the allergic reaction is reduced. So it's not just the stomach wall, otherwise also sometimes we become allergic to certain substances. Okay, some people cannot consume sour food. Why? Because they develop certain inflammations near their lips or on their hands. So that inflammation is reduced, and then antihistamine is going to be drug that is going to be delivered, so that that inflammation is reduced by preventing the interaction of histamine with the receptor. Okay, so antihistamines prevent the interaction, and this is one such example. Dimetane or dimetap, what you can call it, and brompheniramine is the common name of it, and it is available by the name of dimetane or dimetap. Okay, that's the molecular formula. Then you also have terfenadine, that is Seldane, right? Although you need not remember all these structures, but yes, you should remember the examples. Okay. Let's have a look at few MCQs. Which of the following decreases the secretion of acid in the stomach? Histamine, antihistamine, antiseptic, or disinfectant? That's antihistamine. Option B is the correct answer. Next, the molecular formula of Seldane. Now, as I told you, examples are important, molecular formula are important, not the structure. Okay. For Seldane, it is C32H41NO2. Option A is the correct answer. Next, the ratio of carbon and hydrogen in dimetap. So that also becomes an important concept here. So if you know the molecular formula, you will be able to answer this ratio question. So carbon is to hydrogen is what ratio? It is 16:19. So option A is the correct answer. So this is all about the chemicals in medicines, where we have discussed two categories. One is antacids, the other is antihistamines. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel for joining YouTube live classes for best NEET or JEE coaching. You can also download the First Online University mobile app through Google Play Store or App Store for continuous learning through your smartphones. Keep learning with First Online University, a team of millions of learners and educators worldwide.